I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago.
Hey y'all, welcome to another day with Adventura the Bus and another adventure with her. You know, adventures don't get started without an idea, and an idea starts somewhere. And, you know, sometimes those ideas don't get started right away. And if you ask me where my idea started for Adventura the Bus, it may have started a long, long time ago, but it is now in process. And it looks like we've gone backwards in order to go forwards. And what I'm doing right now is I had to install my solar panels, and I had to reinforce some stuff in the roof to be able to move forward with the solar panels. And right now you see these little marks on the ceiling. That's for me to get the wires to come through the ceiling to the place where the wires are going to go. And I had to carve out a little piece here in this wood that's going to go up here, and it's going to cover that spot, but the wires are going to come out there. And I marked where the wires are going to come out, and I'm going to drill a hole right there. And then we're going to put this board up, and then we're going to run the wires through. And yesterday I had to go get some little rubber grommets to go through where the metal's going to go through right here, so that it doesn't slice the wires. So, you know, everything takes a process, and it takes planning, and it takes time. And this took some time to get to. And, you know, I didn't want to move forward on the ceiling until I knew that I had the right support in here for the ceiling to be done. And so while I've got it torn apart, I'm going to move some things forward, and that's the plan. This week's video is about that. It's about taking a step back in order to go forward. And I just decided that this week's videos, or this video that I'm going to have right now, is going to take a step back and look at how we got started. And then from there, I will move forward. And we'll start sharing with you some of the other journeys that we're going on. Pretty soon, I'm going to be putting the ceiling back together, and we're going to be moving on to the next steps, which is starting to build out the inside of the van. Come along the journey with me. I just want to tell you a few things. It all started, I can't say where it started exactly. The word inception means the place, the beginning point for an idea. And honestly, I don't know that I could tell you where the very beginning idea for this whole thing came together. It really started a long, long time ago when I found a love for being in the outdoors and camping. But I did find out I didn't like tent camping, so that was a big deal. I went on a trip, actually 2 years ago, I went on a trip with my father and my mother to Ohio to take my dad to the Air Force Museum. And he really enjoyed that trip, but we rented a camper, and I really had such a great time on that trip. It reminded me of why I like to camp. And so that kind of put the bug in me there. And then from there, and I've always dreamed about having an RV, so that it's been there for a long time. But the real inception of this particular project started last February, in February 2023, when I went down on a trip to Florida. And I had a friend invite me to come over and visit them in Jacksonville on my way down to Destin. So I stopped by, and we went to an RV show. And that is really where I would say this whole idea got started. And then from there, I went on my drive between Jacksonville and Destin. And I got this question in my head. What does a year of transformation look like? And it ended up being a year of transformation could look like this bus. And so I went down to Florida to take some time off and be with the Lord and spend a little time to just press into Him. And a lot of the things had to do with transformation. And what a beautiful picture of transformation I could share with you all if I took a bus that was in a really rough spot and then changed it up and made it a beautiful home. And that's what I'm working on. So that's how I kind of got started on this whole idea. I kind of had an idea that it was going to not start right away, that I was going to be a year or two before I got there. But then things just lined up and happened. And I went on this trip to Asheville. I bought some paintings and some decorations in faith, saying that I was going to step forward on this project. So I was thinking it was going to be a year or two. Little did I know it was going to be a month or two. And then all of a sudden, this bus became available in the right price and in the right timing. And I'm going to say there's a section in this particular video that talks about provision. And that's where God has provided for me. In many ways, he has provided for me in this project. And I have been really blessed on it. So I invite you all to come along this journey and see how far we've come. So I thank you for joining me for this chapter of Look How Far We've Come. And I hope you stay through the end of the video because it's really worth the journey to see how far we have come with this bus. And yes, we had to go back in order to go forward. So blessings to y'all. Enjoy the journey.
I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago.
Hey y'all, it's Elizabeth here. I just wanted to show you something. I'm gonna do a thing, and I haven't done it yet, but I'm about ready to. So this is a Ford Econoline 2003 short bus, and it has a handicap ramp in it, and it belongs to a friend of my family's. They are getting rid of it because they got one of these and they don't need it anymore, and I feel like it's a great blank slate. I'm going to take you inside and show you around a little bit. I mean, it still has a lot in it. It has a working mini split system, and it is a functioning vehicle. It is a diesel engine, and it is a big, soon-to-be blank slate that I can make into something really cool. So I'm looking forward to this next adventure. Hey everybody out there, I did a thing, and I'm going to show you what that thing is I did. It's this. You see this? This is a beautiful 2003 Ford F450 commuter bus, and invite you on the adventure with me. And I'm actually naming this Adventura.
But all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays. Way back a year ago.
You can see the word CATS right there on the door, and that stands for Charlotte Area Transit System. So she started out as a shuttle bus for the Charlotte Area Transit System, and then she got a new identity. After she was no longer useful for Charlotte, she moved on to a church, and she became a church bus, and that's what this one is here. This is New Grace Baptist Church in Concord, North Carolina, and that's where she moved to next. And before I got her, she went to my daughter's brother-in-law, and they used her for kind of a rustic camper. And then that's when I found her. So I had to give her her new identity. So this day, because I was working on the foundation of her floor, I decided that it was kind of important for her to have an identity now. And so I wanted her to get a little bit of her new identity and begin to identify with the adventures that we're going to go on together. And so I tagged her with her name on the side of the bus. Now this is only temporary. I'm not going to keep it this way permanently. This is just so that we can have a little fun and call her what she's called and give her some identity in the process. I had a little fun with some paint and just decided to put a label on her because it's time she has an identity.
I've changed for the better this time.
So, this shows it. I've got it running. I finally committed, hooked up that wire to the one spot I thought it was supposed to go, and she started up this morning. A little rough starting, but we got her going, and I'm driving her up to Kings Mountain now, so thank you for all your help. Blessing. But I want to say one thing about this. A journey, when you get on the start of an adventure, doesn't always go the way you expect. And this one sure didn't go that way. When I first went to go pick it up, it didn't want to start. And I had to struggle through figuring out what the problem was. So I took some time, and it was about 3 weeks of working out the issues and figuring it out and coming to the understanding of what I needed to know. But in the end of it all, I had to really just learn to trust what God had put in me. And when I finally trusted what I was really feeling what the problem was, I was able to fix it. Now I've gotten some wood. I want to give a shout out to some friends of mine. Shelby Yard Cards donated some wood to me. Lowe's gave me some wood. 2 sheets of plywood from Lowe's, and the rest of this wood is some rough cut lumber that I'm going to cut down into pieces that I can use for the floor basing. Hey y'all, I want to tell you a quick little story. Back when my husband passed away, I I became a widow over 12 years ago. And the Lord started talking to me the week after my husband died about Ruth in the Bible. Ruth was a widow in the Bible. She wasn't even a Jew. She was a Gentile. But she was married to a Jew, and that entitled her to be a part of the law, which the law said that she was due a kinsman redeemer. She didn't care about that. She only cared about taking care of her mother-in-law. And God rewarded her for her kindness, and she said she wanted to follow after God. And so she took on the whole idea of following after God, and when she did, she gleaned in the fields of Boaz. And Boaz saw her and recognized her, and he invited her to come into his fields and glean from his fields. And she was rewarded greatly because he made sure that she had more than she needed in the fields that she gleaned in. He provided for her above and beyond. When she was invited into that field, she got all she needed and more. And she ended up eventually marrying Boaz, and she was blessed. I want to say this, after being a widow for 12 years, it's a hard journey, and sometimes provision is hard to come by. And I was invited into a field called Precipice Church, and I have seen nothing but God demonstrated through these people. They're a great community, and they demonstrated to me yesterday what true generosity is and how to care for widows. They did it in the form of blessing me with some cash, over $500 in cash. I am blessed, I am blessed, I am blessed, and I thank Precipice Church for their generosity and their kindness toward me. This is the true demonstration of the gospel, and they had no idea how difficult my situation was. So I just wanted to let y'all know that God is good, and he is watching out for you. And sometimes when you think he's not doing something, he's doing something behind the scenes. This has been in the works for quite a long time, and God knew. And I kept hearing songs in my head like the beautiful story that he's working things out for our good in the background when we don't know. So don't doubt what's going on in the background. I was short on provision, and now God has provided for me. And whether this is a short or a long, I don't care. I just want to give God the glory. And I want to thank Precipice Church for their generosity, and my parents too, because they've given a lot to me. And I'm just getting a whole new understanding of what generosity is, and I'm thankful.
I thought I would never be fine.
At least half the ceiling pulled out. I have all the bars pulled out for the handrails that were in here. All those are pulled out. Half the ceiling is deconstructed. I finished up tearing down most of the roof, and I've got everything exposed on the roof part.
I strive just to say I'm alright, and for the first time in a long time I'm alright. I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago, but all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays, way back a year ago. I'm not falling, I'll push all my chips and call all in. I'll bet on myself, you keep stalling. I hear destiny and it's calling. I'll keep my head up high through the downs and lows, and we're all going life. Still nobody knows, but I'ma choose what's right and take what comes and goes. And ain't no one in life holding me back no more. I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago.
Okay, as you can see, I have a greasy face, and I have a summary of the day is I have successfully removed the handicap ramp. It is uninstalled. It is on the floor, but it still needs to go to the salvage yard. I have to get this thing inspected. So in order to get it inspected, I have to have working tail lights, and I realized that the tail lights are not functioning. So I'm going to take the tail light assemblies apart today, and they're right here, tail lights.
But all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays. Way back a year ago.
There's brand new lights on the back. They all work perfectly. I ran them through a test, set up my GoPro so I could see when I stepped on the brake lights, if the brake lights worked, if the running lights worked, if the turn signals worked, if the four-ways worked, if the backup lights worked. They all worked perfectly. They're wired in perfectly, and it's all ready to go. Thinking outside the box. And it's out. I'll kind of smooth it out with the tip of the caulking gun, and then that kind of levels itself and gets good. Okay, so I put a little lap sealant on some of these seams. It's a big improvement over what was here. There was a lot of cracks on this side especially. There's still some cracks over there, but I've run out of what I did have a lap sealant. This is as far as I was able. Dealing and wrestling with cutting hoses apart and getting them off, and I went back to my old reliable drywall saw, and that just chopped those hoses right off. And then I work on disconnecting the hoses all the way across, and it was really a struggle to be under that bus and deal with the dirt and the tight confined spaces. It took us a minute because they have these long bolts on there, and I ended up using the grinder to cut off the bolts shorter so that we could get a socket on it. And then I was actually working on this grinder. This is my first time using a grinder. Absolutely love it. It has been a good experience for me. But in the same process, I've learned a lot about grinder safety and what's necessary to be safe with a grinder. And I also learned a very hard lesson with this camera and with the grinder. Now, whenever you're doing grinding and you say, oh, it would be a cool shot if I did this, I would suggest you reconsider that unless you have a case you can put your camera in. Because I thought, oh, it would be really cool if I took an angle like this next angle you're going to see. And I set the camera in the line of the sparks, but I forgot. It's shooting molten metal at my camera. So I did get some scratches on my lenses, but thankfully it was not too serious, and I was able to take a little toothpaste, which this is a pro tip. So what happens when you neglect a problem, when you ignore something and you don't realize really what's going on? When a small thing is nagging at you and you don't fix it, this is what happens. See this? This is water damage. This is all from a water leak that was not addressed properly. And so because the water was leaking, and anytime I see daylight through fiberglass, I'm going to want to reinforce that and seal it. And I can see right here, you see that right there? That's probably the major part of the leak right there. And that's cracked wide open and water's just pouring in. So I have to address these things, and that's what's causing this. If you don't go on, if I had left the walls on and ignored this, this would still be there. And I'm going to have to get some. Okay, so this is how deep the rabbit hole gets. This whole section over here is just rotted through. It needs to be replaced. The middle section looks pretty fair. Over here, right now I still have to wire wheel over here, but this section over here is all done and wire wheeled and rust treated. I will be ready to paint that shortly, but I'm gonna do a quick wire wheel on this section after I will go wipe my face off. And then I'm gonna hit this real hard with a some rust treatment and hopefully get this painted tonight sometime.
Back a year ago, I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago.
So I wanted to just show you what this looks like before I get ready to fit in the piece of wood. Surface, I had to do some wire brushing first to get the surface ready and prepared for the wood to be. I did have some good advice from a friend. There it is, I'm showing you the can. But I do have a link in place, and then I started, I used the metal bar there to be able to
but all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays, way back a year ago. I've changed for the better this time. I thought I would never be fine. I strive just to say I'm alright. And for the first time in a long time, I'm alright. I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago. But all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays, way back a year ago.
Get to where I can see clearly, and one of the ways I continue to see clearly is to have the right protection when I'm doing the job, and I love the joy that's in my eye. Y'all, welcome to my channel, and here's this week's featured person. I have my mom. Hi. This is my mom, Kay. She's 83 years old and spunky and spry. Now you know where I get it all from. She's my helper today, and she's done a lot to help me out, and we'll show you some of the stuff that we've done. So we have 3 of the 4 windows out on this side. A couple friends of mine who have really been instrumental in helping me move hugely forward this week. This is Cathe.
Hi, I've known Beth all my life.
She's a childhood friend of mine, and I'm very grateful to her. They were visiting me this week, and they decided that they wanted to help out. And then Ken. Ken is Cathe's boyfriend, and they have been super helpful today. And they have been here. They got up this morning and said, hey, we want to do something for you, and they did it. And I'm very, very grateful to their help.
I'm not falling. I'll push all my chips and call all in. I'll bet on myself, you keep stalling. I hear destiny and it's calling. I'll keep my head up high through the downs and lows, and we're all going live. Still nobody knows, but I'ma choose what's right and take what comes and goes. And ain't no one in life holding me back no more.
Y'all, welcome to my channel. I'm starting a day out here with Adventura, and I am out here in the carport with my friend Amira. She's here to join me to help me with the bus today. We're going to see if we can get those doors finished.
Yes, we will.
And we're excited about that. So just enjoy the process, and I got to get the camera set up, and then we're going to get...
I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago. But all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays, way back a year ago.
it had time-lapse photography on it, so that was much better. And this is where I actually captured the pour. So this is one of the pours. I put in the first layer of color. I was actually going to try and do some clear coat, but I decided to do all color on this layer. And then what I did is one layer of color, and then 2 layers of clear coat. So this is how they look right now, currently. They're in the drying state right now, but I will have, hopefully in the next few days, have them up on the bus and installed and in place. But I'm really happy with the results of how they look.
Way back a year ago, I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago.
I've been working up here under the dash, trying to get this cleaned up and get it ready. That's part of the place where those rusty parts were up under here to hold the dashboard together. I've got this all cleared out, but okay, so I was able to get all this section in here wire wheeled down, and I put a first coat of paint on most of it, and it is looking pretty dang good. Paint's got to dry now, of course, but it's looking pretty sharp. I'm pretty happy with this. And we did a rust treatment on it. We wire wheeled it first, then rust treated it, and hit it with a coat of paint. And the paint's going to cure overnight, and then hopefully I can start putting this wood down tomorrow. I'll put down the wood and start rebuilding this section of the floor, and then I'm going to start bringing in the dash pieces, because I was working on the dash today. I'll go in and show you some of the dash pieces that I got done.
But all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays. Way back a year ago, I've changed for the better this time. I thought I would never be fine. I strive just to say I'm alright. And for the first time in a long time, I'm alright. I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago. But all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays. Way back a year ago. I'm not falling. I'll push all my chips and call all in. I'll bet on myself, you keep stalling. I hear destiny and it's calling. I'll keep my head up high through the downs and lows, and we're all going live. Still nobody knows, but I'ma choose what's right and take what comes and goes. And ain't no one in life holding me back no more. I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago.
Hey everybody, welcome to my channel and welcome to my home, Adventura the Bus. She's got some new digs on her, and I'm making good progress, and this is my new entryway into my home of Adventura. I have a pocket door that is basically a floating door, and this episode is where you get to see this dream become a reality.
I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago. But all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays. Way back a year ago, I've changed for the better this time. I thought I would never be fine. I strive just to say I'm alright. And for the first time in a long time, I'm alright. I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago, but all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays, way back a year ago. I'm not falling. I'll push all my chips and call all in. I'll bet on myself, you keep stalling. I hear destiny and it's calling. I'll keep my head up high through the downs and lows, and we're all going life. Still nobody knows, but I'ma choose what's right and take what comes and goes. And ain't no one in life holding me back no more. I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago, but all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays, way back a year ago.
Hey y'all, I'm really grateful that you stuck around to the end of this chapter. About a year ago, I stood here, not exactly a year ago, I stood here in Kings Mountain, but I actually found this beautiful bus a year ago. And when you look on the outside, you don't see a lot of change visibly on the outside. There's a little bit of change up on the roof up there, but you can't really see it from here. But the most visible change on the outside of the bus is the doors that we put on the bus. So we have these new doors on the front of the bus, and that's the most visible change on the outside. So you think, what really has been transformed in a year? But there has been a lot that has transformed in a year. And as you walk inside the bus and enter into this section, you can see that a lot has changed. And even so much so that we have a pocket sliding door right here in the entryway of the bus. We also have a little handrail down there, and we have a lot more space and room. We have electricity now because I've got solar panels that are working on the roof, and they're working toward making things run the way it's supposed to run. So it's really cool to have all this stuff working. And I actually have lights now. I actually have fans running, and I actually have a battery charging. And this is steps forward that we've taken in a year. In a year's time, we rebuilt the floors, and we rebuilt the walls, and we've rebuilt a lot of things. And we've made a lot of progress. And so I really appreciate each and every one of you that is coming along the journey, that has helped on the journey, that has helped fund some of this project, because I've had many people who have given money toward this project and backed me up. I want to thank my parents. I want to thank my church. I want to thank Amira. I want to thank Kayla. I want to thank my mom. And I want to thank Cathe and Ken, who came by and helped me on this project. And even some people that you haven't seen yet. Donavan, he came and helped me on this project some, but you're going to see him in the next couple episodes coming up. I have not been able to get any of this done without some of the help that I've had, with some of the financial help, donations from Shelby Yard Card, just donations from Jake Postle, and donations from many people that have made a difference to help me move forward on this project. She's gone from a rustic bus to a beautiful, almost ready to be lived in home. Thank you for everybody. I ask if you have time to please like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who you think might benefit from it. I have many lessons I've learned on this journey, and I want to share them with others, and I really appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for joining me, and y'all come back now. Thank you all for taking time to stop by. Don't forget to subscribe and share. Y'all come back now.
Some things are not the same as they were a year ago.